Alright guys, hope you're all doing well and keeping safe. Hopefully you all had a good weekend. Season 3 and title update 11 dropped on Tuesday the 22nd, and I spent most of the day playing the Summit Game Mode, about 13 hours actually, ending the run at floor 93 before calling it a night out of sleep deprivation. Today I wanted to give you my review and initial thoughts and feedback on this mode, so hopefully you do enjoy this one. If you do and you want to support me, the best way to do this is just watch the video all the way until the end. You can like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff as well. And with that said, let's begin. So we all knew exactly what the Summit was going to offer before it went live, and if you didn't, then fair play, because we had about 3 weeks of PTS and there was in excess of about 1,000 videos talking about it, including a few videos from me as well. Now I'm on console, and whilst I did partake in a private player server for a couple of days before the PTS went live, I've only been able to see the game mode from watching others play. Now it's important I note this here because when I saw the streams of everyone else playing, the mode didn't look like that much in all honesty, and yet now that I've played it, I did enjoy myself, even if I experienced more bugs and technical issues than ever before, and I'm going to come on to that. Now, I'm not naive to the fact that this could just be the honeymoon phase. When Kenley College first dropped, I'm pretty sure I enjoyed my playthrough to begin with, but if you're playing with friends, then even the worst content can be enjoyable. Now, this is my initial impressions video of the mode, as it's only been out for a week, and I've only played through it once, but based on my initial impressions, I have enjoyed myself playing through this mode. So, you know, purely looking at whether I had fun or not on my first run, then yeah, it kind of ticks the box, but it's a very light pencil tick and it's easily removed because, again, I'm not naive and I know what the game mode is and I know what it will become, and I know what I can see from the game mode. Now, with that part out of the way, let me break each important part down and give feedback, ending with an overall impression of this mode. Now I'm going to get this one out of the way because I hope to end on a positive note, which will be difficult I might add, but I can't ignore the absolute technical mess that I experienced on Tuesday when TU11 went live, and have been experiencing actually ever since. Now I must have had about 20 plus delta errors in my time playing, at least. I think it was way more than that actually, which got more and more common the higher and the higher that we climbed as a group, which made it more and more frustrating, of course, as you really don't want to get a delta at floor 99. I actually think there was a video on Twitter from Lieutenant Buzz Lightyear where he actually doubted on floor 99, which was funny to watch, but actually not funny at all, because actually if I was in his position I'd be unbelievably frustrated. Thankfully none of my doubters caused our team to actually lose levels, but it got so bad it actually became comical, and that's kind of why I'm laughing about it at this point. Aside from deltas, there were plenty of instances where bullets were just not registering or there was delayed damage. At one point I literally couldn't open doors, which became quite funny towards the end because, you know, I had a choice. I either laugh or I cry, so I decided to just laugh about it. Now, in all seriousness though, the technical issues I experienced within this game mode is the worst I've experienced since any activity since launch. I wanted to quickly address this because I know that for the most part these are going to be fixed, but it really did leave me with kind of like a sour taste in my mouth, and actually it puts me off from going back in there because I'm concerned that I'm going to be doubted again. Although, as I said before, it didn't just apply to the Summit, it did apply to the whole world. It's just the whole technical issues with this game mode as well, outside of the deltas, is just very, very bad, and they need to address it right away. This mode needs to at least be playable. So for number 2 we got difficulty. Now thank God the devs let us start at level 51. I played through the entire Summit though from levels 1 to 100 because I just really wanted to get, you know, the total experience. Now difficulty was something that I really wanted to pay attention to when I was playing, and I really saw a huge difference in difficulty when it jumped from heroic to legendary, which is expected, of course. Now, as a team, we were really kind of found everything pretty easy all the way up to level 81 when legendary started, at which point the mode became a lot harder. Actually, a lot harder than I expected. It was actually quite a jarring experience. It really felt like here our team had to start thinking about our team composition, you know, a lot more, and that became more and more of a factor the further we got, you know, when we had directives added as well. In terms of group play, I think the difficulty was actually fine. If you have a team that knows what they are doing, even without mics, you can beat this mode, as I did with matchmaking. There are some activities which are really difficult, like terminals or shade crates, where you have to kind of defend a small area, and there you have to really think about your team composition. Those are very difficult, but on the other end of the spectrum, you have like the hack drones activity or the drone ambush, and they are easy because you just have kind of one person run a jammer pulse, and that's the end of that activity. The variety in Legendary is actually quite nice. What I mean by variety is the variety in difficulty. You could have one room which takes half hour and you're sweating, and in the next room you have, the hack drones and it's 2 minutes, and that kind of variety in difficulty is actually quite nice. I think the most annoying thing, and I saw this on a couple of streams I watched as well, was actually the amount of waves that you get sometimes on these more difficult kind of activities. I think I remember counting at least 7 waves on one activity for just one floor, which on Legendary, more than anything, it's not that it's really difficult, it just takes a very long time. There was no real variety with these as well. It was just kind of wave after wave of enemies, and with such awful ammo economy in the game, I often found that if I didn't use my M1A and I used an assault rifle, I kind of run out of ammo and be forced to use a pistol. And in those cases, again, it felt like I was being forced to use, an all DPS M1A build, and that wasn't a good experience. Overall difficulty, it felt fine as a group. I've not played solo, but that, on the other hand, looks way, way, way more difficult. Some of the activities require you, as I said before, to hold an area with little to no cover, which is going to be brutal as a solo player on Legendary when you've got 3 directives. Like I said, I've not played solo, but I feel as though this mode cannot be done solo unless you're someone like Solid FPS or you're just one of those 0.01% of solo players in the whole community. The overwhelming majority, 99.9 reoccurring percent of people, if they play this through solo, just will not be able to do it. And that to me is a little bit disappointing, that this mode has been again catered towards group play, and it's not that it's been catered towards group play, it's just that they really haven't thought about the solo player experience when it comes to playing through this mode, and that's a real shame. So number 3, we got variety. Now this is a wide sub-topic. In terms of modes, it was nice to see some new ones that I hadn't seen on the PTS. It kept it feeling new, because we'd had a month of PTS where we'd pretty much seen everything, but when it came to actually playing the Summit, I saw some stuff which was new. That was great. But with 100 floors and only like 10 plus, maybe 15 activities, you're very quickly getting bored of seeing the same activities. Now I know the devs are going to add more, but right now, which is how I'm basing my feedback on, there just isn't enough at all. And they need to add at least another 30, maybe even more. I've seen some posts of people naming, 20 that they could add. So I hope the devs really invest in creating more activities. There are plenty of assets in the game there to do it. If you look at something like, the Hornet Manhunt, where you had to transport that Warhound, kind of like Overwatch, that would be a good activity. And actually, it would be good for PvP as well, to be honest. But still, they just need to add a lot more, and I think they can do a lot more there. Still on the subject of variety, the devs have to invest in the environment. At no point do you really feel like you're climbing a skyscraper until the final room, when you step outside and you're above the clouds. Even here, though, I would have preferred, to be able to be below the clouds and look out over the map. In fact, at some points, you actually have to go down, which when I was playing really didn't make any sense to me that you'd have to go down. It just really ruins it. There are a few floors that have windows, but you can't actually see through them. Imagine if there was, maybe proper windows, and you had instances where NPCs repelled through those windows, or, maybe the scene from Matrix where a manned minigun on a helicopter started firing through the windows. They've sort of made it so much more immersive. It would have made it feel like you're actually climbing up a skyscraper. Instead, the environment is just very drab. The palette is boring, lacking any kind of colour, and it just feels like a warehouse throughout. If you've ever been to a skyscraper, and I haven't, but Google Images gives you a good idea, you can really see the variety that could have been there. Malls, restaurants, clubs, aquariums, and there's just so much more. The thing is, the open world has a lot of these assets already. As a compromise, for now, I'd happily take the devs just dropping these assets into the Summit with the plan to build on these, and I actually think that's what they might do as well soon. Just overall, the environment is probably the most disappointing part about this game mode, to be honest, especially when you consider how good the game looks outside of this game mode. With that said, I personally think that gameplay always trumps how a game looks, but here unfortunately that does fail as well. So let's talk about point number 4, and that's replayability. So for me, and I think for a lot of people, this is the big one, replayability. Now the Summit was advertised, is still being advertised as a highly replayable PVE game mode. Now technically speaking, some might say that is correct. Technically you can replay the game mode as many times as you want, but the same can be said for all the missions and everything else that's in the game. The devs don't advertise the manhunt missions as highly replayable because highly replayable means something you can play over and over again without getting bored. Now the devs have tried to incorporate some things here to make that a reality, to keep it fresh every time you play. You could play, say, floors 51 to 53 multiple times, and multiple times you will likely experience, maybe different activities, floor layouts, NPC spawns, and just variety within the parameters of what this mode offers. This is a great addition, no doubt, and actually I was very happy when they announced this because I didn't think we actually get any of this sort of thing. So yeah, this is good, but that's about it for replayability, and that's why I do not consider the Summit a highly replayable game mode yet. Survival from the Division was a highly replayable game mode. You could start where you wanted, set yourself challenges if you wanted, and you'd almost always have a different experience each time. The rewards were lacking for sure, but it really nailed the replayability factor, which says a lot when you consider that the rewards are actually not there. The Summit has very little variety when you consider just how huge the skyscraper actually is. There is one exotic chest piece tied to the mode, which is made up of 5 pieces, each piece obtainable from the chest on each difficulty, with a data mine drop rate chance of 20%, although I think it's way lower than that based on what I'm seeing. In my run I actually got 2 pieces, but it's unlikely I'm going to try and get the rest because the exotic chest piece just doesn't seem worth the effort. Aside from that, there's a couple of dies and you get a patch and another trinket from completing the game mode. The rewards are just meh, it's kind of like doing a global event, they're just whatever. There really isn't anything worth chasing here. All the new stuff is available from any source. On top of that, the targeted loot is just plain wrong. And the devs should never have let this game mode come out with just one targeted loot for the whole experience. If I see another piece of Alp Summit, I actually just might lose it, to be honest, guys. How the devs thought this would be a good idea, I don't know, because if there is one thing that would instantly make this game mode more replayable than it is right now, it's going to be the targeted loot. It's the only thing that will make this mode more replayable until they actually put other rewards worth playing for, or they improve the gameplay experience so that it's actually worth just playing it for the experience itself rather than any kind of rewards. And this goes back to Survival actually, which had no rewards, but the gameplay experience and loot was so outstanding, it really didn't matter too much. The Summit doesn't have rewards worth playing for, in my opinion, and it doesn't have a satisfying gameplay loop either. And even though it's got the one, some people might go, well, it's got, I want to get this chess piece. But just like Kenley College, you're going to get the chess piece, and if they don't fix everything else and make everything else replayable, you're not going to play it again. So the Summit in its current state has no replayability, and it's unlikely I'm going to be playing it again until they at least change how targeted loot works. Then, however, as a mostly solo player, I'd probably benefit more from XP and loot just running control points than doing the Summit on heroic mode. In fact, I know I would actually. A solo heroic control point with directive takes, less than 10 minutes? And you can get like 500k XP. You won't be getting that on a heroic Summit floor, and it's going to take way longer than that as a solo player. So the balancing is all off. If I can just go and get the stuff that I want somewhere else 10 times quicker and get more rewards, why would I ever play the Summit? Now, I've touched on some of the major areas in this feedback and impressions video as these stand out the most to me. Now, I did say at the start of the video as well that I want to end on a positive. All in all, I think the Summit mode, it does have potential, and that is the positive I'm going to take from this. But right now, it does feel like Kenley College. Not as bad, in fact, nowhere near as bad, I don't think, because I actually think this has potential. But there's no doubt the Summit has its own mountain to climb. Thanks very much for watching today's video, guys. If you stuck around to hear me say this, then I really do appreciate it. It's by far the best way you can support me, and it goes a long, long way. Tomorrow I will have your weekly vendor reset video, and I've got some other topics to talk about in the near future as well. Until tomorrow's video, guys, epic out.